Hi, I'm on it. I'm going to be teaching you how to make a two-player fighting game. Today we'll look at the main menu. Let's start by creating 3 costumes for a sprite. Now, if you just delete your Scratch account when you start off, paint a new sprite, click on the eye, and call it button because that's the main use of the sprite. Then make a play button. And then this is sort of your choice. You can make like a story button or a controls button. And then, if you choose to make a story, you need a storyline backdrop sort of thing. And if you choose to make a control, you need a backdrop which explains the control. I would always convert to vector from doing stuff like this so it doesn't get blocky, and you can always change your mistakes by just tapping on them with the little mouse. Make sure for story and play that when you click on set costume center, it's exactly in the center, and you can drag this round too. Same goes for play. So now that we've done that, we just need to name our backdrop. So main menu, I did that before, and then choose a nice plain color for our backdrop, and now we can begin coding. So if we go to button, we can get the events and do when flag clicked, and then we'll need to make a variable called start game code. I'm going to delete this variable and make it so click make a variable, new variable, and we'll call this start game. Let's not call it start game code because that makes the variable too long. So we'll untick this, which means we hide the variable there. And what variables do is they store information, so it can be, but it has to be a number, so any number. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it to 0, and 0 means that the actual game hasn't started. And we're going to change it so that if it's 1, the game starts. So sets that to 0. It hides it, and then what we do is we go we basically prepare it. We basically prepare what it looks like. So if we set size, 100% is tiny. It's basically that size. So we're going to set it to something like 300%. Should pretty much do the trick. Yeah, 300 is about good. So if we get 300%, and then go to front, which basically makes it go to the front of the page, sort of 2D area, and then get switch costume to, or we could put this at the first, switch costume to play, because this is going to be our play sprite. But before any of these happens, even maybe after the set variable, we need to create a clone. And the reason is because the clone is going to be the story button, so that we don't need to create a new sprite for that. So now that we've done that, pretty much preparing it, it needs to go to the middle. So that would be 0 on the x-axis, and it could be 0 on the y-axis if you're thinking of the middle. I'm going to make mine slightly down, so it's going to be minus 20 on the y-axis. And then, yeah, that is it. That's the clone. It doesn't really matter about that. But yes. And now what you're going to need to do is, let's quickly put show, yeah, because it needs to basically show first. Now we're going to do forever loop and if. So it's always going to be thinking if it's going to be clicked. Now, you could always just get rid of this and use when sprite clicked, but I think this way is much more neater. So when you click it, it touches your mouse pointer and your mouse is down. So if it's touching your mouse pointer and your mouse is down, then you're clicking it. So we'll go to operators and get an AND. So if mouse is down and touching mouse pointer, then it can set start game to 1. And then what we can also do is the game starts when this is set to 1. So it just hides itself quickly. And then it doesn't really appear for the rest of the thing. But now that we've done that, we need to do the clone. So the clone will be also doing the same thing. So what we could do is we could just duplicate all of that, apart from it doesn't need to switch costume to play, it switches it to story, and the y-axis should be a bit lower, so maybe minus 50 or 55, and then it doesn't start game, that's not what it does, and we're not going to make it do this variable things because that's already done by the other one, and it's not going to create a clone of itself. So now that it's done that, mouse down and touching mouse pointer, which also means it's clicked. What we can do is we can make it so that it gives you the storyline. So it changes its costume to story first. But before that, it's on 300%. So on its look, set size to 100%. And also it needs to go to the middle. Because it's so that the image is on the middle, otherwise it would just be on the sides and it wouldn't really make sense. So 0, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make it wait however long it takes for like a little bit of a slow reader to read your image. So like mine one will take around 5 seconds, maybe 4.5. So I'm going to go with 4.5. And then it deletes itself, so it doesn't appear again, because it's a clone. So let's try that. Story. So now you get the story for 4.5 seconds, and it deletes itself. So now you've got play, and you can click play if you like. Now that sets start game to 0. So now what we'll also need to do is, we can make another block, and we can call it if game start. So if game start, and the idea is that this basically tells it if the game has started. So actually, no, we don't need to make that variable. Let's just do another when I start as clone. Seems a bit more simple, makes a bit more sense. So when I start as a clone, we'll just do that forever if thing. But now, forever if start game is 1, so equals 1, which means the game is started. We can make it play maybe something like Space Ripple, which is a really cool music and sound, and it also gets rid of itself. So as well as that, in case, because the problem now is if you click play, story stays. So now because you click play and that happens, delete its clones. So delete. There we go. So we can also make it quickly play Space Ripple before. So we'll go to electronic. Yeah, there we go. Space Ripple. I'll call it start. Sound. So now the start sound is done. If game equals 1, then delete this clone, but just before that, play sound, start sound. There you go. And that is pretty much how you can make a brilliant game intro. This applies with pretty much any game, but I'm going to do it with this series where I'll be teaching you how to make a 2-player fighting game. So let's do one last test out. Play. Yep. It starts the game, and story. It will give you the story 4.5 seconds before deleting itself, and then play. Brilliant. So thank you for watching, and bye!